So Suella Braverman is a staunch warrior for speaking the truth around what's happening with Israel and anti-Semitism in the West. Here she is at Oxford University, where she's grilled by a hostile anti-Israel crowd. And she, in return, roasts them back and tells them a truth that may be inconvenient to them, but they need to hear. This is incredible stuff. Have a watch.
So you mentioned the word second-class citizens a lot. I wanted to talk about people who actually are second-class citizens. So I have a lot of family in East Jerusalem and the West Bank who are treated by the occupation as second, third, less than animal citizens. They are given temporary residency cards in a city they were born in, whereas somebody who is Jewish from any country in the world can come and live as their next-door neighbor and is given permanent residency overnight. That is an apartheid system. Secondly, many members of my family have been racially abused by Israeli settlers, physically and verbally and every way imaginable. They have full protection of the Israeli military. A family friend of my family's was dragged off the streets in 2014, put into a car, burnt to death. His name was Mohammed Abu Khadayr. The Israeli government takes full responsibility for their settlement program. They are encroaching on Palestinian communities in the West Bank. Do you really think that you know better the experiences of Palestinians under occupation to be able to say that Israel is not an apartheid state? It is. I have experienced it. My family have experienced it. Who are you to say that our lived experience is wrong?
Thank you for the question. Can I just ask a question of the audience? And by a show of hands, how many people here believe that Israel has the right to exist?
I don't think the audience survey...
It's entirely relevant. I'm asking a question. By a show of hands, how many people here believe Israel has the right to exist? Okay, less than half of the room. How many people here would condemn the Hamas attacks on October the 7th? Most people, I'm glad to see. And how many people here believe that Israel has the right to self-defense? A minority? How? Half? Maybe less than half. Thank you. Very helpful for me to understand what kind of wavelength we're on. So if you've got personal family members, I didn't hear your question word for word because of the acoustics, but if you've got family members who've been killed and harmed, my heart goes out to you and them, and innocent people shouldn't be hurt, whatever their religion, whatever their race, whatever their nationality. That's my starting point. Listen, when it comes to Israel and Gaza, Israel is a country that is fighting on several fronts against Islamist jihadist groups, whether it's in the north from Lebanon with Hezbollah, firing thousands of rockets into Israel, killing many people, whether it's obviously Hamas in the south in Gaza and the disgusting, brutal October the 7th attacks where innocent Israelis were murdered and where many hostages are still held in captivity, whether it's Islamic Jihad, whether it's the Houthis in Yemen, whether it's Iranian-backed proxies in Syria. There are many, many bodies which are intent on the destruction of Israel. Indeed, the Iranian constitution enshrines it explicitly that it's intent on destroying Israel. And so this is one of the few democracies in the Middle East. This is one of the few countries.
Please allow the guest to answer the question.
It's one of the few democracies in the Middle East. It's one of the few countries where minorities are treated equally, where women are treated equally, where gay people are treated equally, where Muslims and Arabs are treated equally. And so...
Order, please. Do not interrupt. I will ask you to leave the chamber if you interrupt again. Please continue.
And so I very much believe in the idea of the State of Israel and its right to exist and its legal right to defend itself against these terrorist groups which are intent on destroying it. And when you talk about the West Bank is, the Israelis are there, it's disputed territory, but they are there for historical reasons, disputed. They are also there, importantly, for strategic security reasons. And as I've said, Israel on all fronts is under attack. It's essential that the Israelis have a presence there to prevent a further invasion by terrorists in the form that we saw on October the 7th, to prevent the murder of Israelis. And that's why it is right that we defend Israel's right to defend herself in the way that they're doing right now. We need to ensure that this war comes to an end, but we also need to ensure that the hostages are released. Women were raped, children were killed. They murdered Kafir and Ariel Bibas in cold blood. They paraded and celebrated the release of hostages as if it was a carnival. They use UNRWA-funded shelters to hold the hostages in. UNRWA-funded shelters that are funded by the British taxpayer because this disgusting Labour government keeps funding UNRWA, an organisation that is complicit with Hamas. So, listen, there will be loss of life in Gaza of innocent people. That's a tragedy. But we need to ensure that Israel is secure, that Israel defends itself against indefensible or unforgivable and brutal terrorism, and that we bring an end to organisations like Hamas and Hezbollah and the other Islamist jihadist groups that are intent on destroying Israel.
So I do want to push on one point. You're a lawyer yourself, and we have seen more than 46,000 people killed, more than 90,000 injured, many thousands children, the entire state of Gaza in rubbles. The United Nations, Amnesty International have declared it's one of the worst crimes and this genocide of the 21st century. The ICC had issued arrest warrants against the Prime Minister of Israel. Is this behavior of a state that believes in equality, human rights, and the rule of law?
So stupid. So stupid.
Let's go back to the basics of international law and the Genocide Convention, where genocide is defined. Genocide is defined in the international treaty as being a specific intent to destroy a particular group, protected group. And that group is to be defined by ethnicity, nationality, race or religion. Now, Israel is retaliating following the October the 7th attacks by Hamas. Hamas are a proscribed terrorist organisation according to UK law. Israel is fighting against Hamas. Hamas runs Gaza. Hamas has been largely in control of Gaza since 2005. Hamas is using human shields to fight the Israelis. Hamas has constructed a sophisticated and extensive network of tunnels, longer than even the London Underground network of tunnels. Hamas is in receipt of billions of pounds of aid to do so. And so the claims of genocide have been trumped up, are politicised, and frankly, unwarranted. Because targeting a prescribed terrorist organisation is not genocide, that is not a breach of international law.
But 56,000 people killing those, wounding 97,000
Does he not care to ask how many of those are Hamas fighters?
people and killing many thousand children. I mean, when you talk about international law, then let's talk fully. I mean, under what definition of international humanitarian law does it allow for a state to bomb human rights shelters, to bomb hospitals, to bomb religious places? Give me and point me to a single treaty or international humanitarian law convention, whether it is under the Red Cross conventions or more the Geneva conventions, that allows any state, in regards to their self-defense, allows them to disproportionately bombard entire regions, rubble entire regions, and the same areas that the United Nations have prescribed them as shelters for innocents, for those trying to flee war.
So do you condemn...
So stupid. So stupid.
Do you condemn the October 7th attack?
Of course I condemn the October 7th.
Now, if they attacked Israel, they've still got hostages in captivity. Israel, Hamas themselves have said they would do it again. Israel has a duty to defend itself and its people and to get the hostages back. It's got to do that. It's got to go into Gaza to do that. Now, in warfare, civilians will be killed. That is an inevitable tragedy of warfare. Innocent civilians will be killed. That is not a reason, unfortunately, to not defend your country and your people. And unfortunately, even over 2 years on, hostages, or nearly over 2 years on, over a year on, hostages have not been released. There is still, Hamas have still shown intent to attack Israel, and unfortunately Israel is still left in the position where it's forced to defend itself. What would you do? You just stop? You'd give up on getting the hostages? No.
I don't know why she also doesn't mention the fact that Hamas hide among and use and store weapons and equipment and fight in civilian territories, schools, mosques, hospitals. Their biggest base was under a hospital. So what are you telling Israel? Saying Israel just can't go and fight them? Because international law says actually you can if the terrorists or the army you're fighting are hiding in civilian territories. It's terrible, but you have to. Otherwise, what do? Just let them win?
Israel has to go in and get the hostages. You can't just abandon your people. You can't just allow your country to be attacked again by a group that has said that they would do it again. So, yes, and as for the International Court of Justice and their action against Israel, they have been shown to be totally politicized, I'm afraid. The suggestion that there is genocide, as I said, is totally unfounded according to international law.
So are you saying that the ICC warrants are wrong against Benjamin Netanyahu?
I am. Yes. I am saying I disagree with the
What about
issuance of those
Putin?
ICC warrants. Of course I do.
So is the ICC warrant against Putin correct?
Yes, of course it is.
And it's wrong against Benjamin Netanyahu?
Putin has engaged in a brutal invasion of another democratic sovereign nation. Hamas in Israel, it's not comparable at all.
The same ICC...
Hamas, a proscribed terrorist organization, has invaded Israel, murdered innocent Israelis, taken them hostage and vowed to do it again.
But the same
It is absolutely incumbent on the Israeli state to take self-defensive measures.
The same International Criminal Court that you have so much confidence in when it issued arrest warrants against Putin is the same court that it issued arrest warrants against Benjamin Netanyahu. Isn't there a double standard when it comes to one country that you like?
No, corrupt organizations can get things right and they can get things wrong. Why is that a double standard?
So much. You don't like the ICC, but when it comes to another and you don't like so much, you like them.
No. Unfortunately, there is institutional capture with many of these organizations, whether it's the ICC, whether it's the ICJ, the United Nations, Amnesty International, all sorts of NGOs. They've all they all parrot the talking points, the anti-Israel talking points, and this is the world we live in. There is a high level of anti-Israel sentiment. There's a high level of anti-Semitism. There is, look at these people out there. You know, they may be, I don't know if they are, shouting from the river to the sea. That is a chant for the eradication of Israel from the face of the map. That is a chant for the extermination of Israelis. That's anti-Semitic, if they are chanting it. I don't know if they're chanting it, but a lot of these protesters often chant it. And it is an anti-Semitic chant, to my mind. So it's become, the problem we've got is anti-Semitism and anti-Israel sentiment has become a left-wing kind of campaign. It's become, it's a distortion. It's a distortion of right and wrong, actually. And of course, we want innocent Palestinians to have a place to live and for them to live in safety and security. But I'm afraid, and we also know that a majority of the Palestinian people do actually support Hamas. That is a concerning piece of evidence. Israel has the right, and I would say the duty, to defend itself.
Suella Braverman has a lot of moral clarity. She was actually someone that, when she was the Home Secretary, which is like in America, I don't know what the right term would be, like they call it like Secretary for the Interior or something. And she said when you had all these anti-Israel marches, that they were hate marches. And she actually, I don't know if this was the reason, but some suggest she actually got fired from her job because she stated that truth. People said, now how can you delegitimize them like this? So many of these people on the marches just want justice for the Palestinians. And she called it out as being a hate march. Of course it's a hate march. They're not on the streets for far worse massacres taking place in the Middle East and beyond. Only when the Jews defend themselves. Also, let's not forget, they protested even before Israel lifted a finger against Gaza, celebrating what happened on October 7th, justifying it or denying it. It's a bizarre mix of the two. But she has the understanding. She's been blessed with moral clarity. I found it quite humorous, laughable, that she asked how many in the room support Israel's right to exist. And then she said, how many believe Israel has the right to self-defense? And then the hands got less. If a country can't have the right to self-defense, how can it have the right to exist? It's completely flawed. It started off with a question about, what happens to, Arabs in East Jerusalem. And I think it's so important to have an understanding of cause and effect here. First of all, Israeli Arabs have equal rights to other Israelis. Then there's Arabs in the Palestinian authorities, East Jerusalem, Judea and Samaria, or Gaza. They're under a different domestic authority there. So it's more complicated than that. And as for issues of violence or what's happening in Gaza, the fundamental issue here that the student at the beginning raised, and I think is the cause of so much misinformation, is this premise that Israel really came in, stole the land, did all these injustices. So of course Israel has the right to, of course the Arabs and Palestinians have the right to fight back, protect themselves, resist, all that kind of stuff. That is the fundamental lie at the heart of this. That the cause is Israel's aggression, displacement, and then the effect is the Palestinians respond. Actually, it turns out that if you study things, study the history, you'll see that the root cause has always been Arab, Islamic, Jew hatred, anti-Semitism, refusal to allow the Jews the right to live in their ancestral homeland, alongside a state of their own. And the effect has been Israel having to respond to defend itself. Everything that the Palestinian side, the Arab side laments has been self-inflicted. Everything. From beginning to end. For them, it's not about a legitimate grievance, it's about Jew hatred. And part of the proof of that is that before there was any war or any issue like that, this anti-Semitism predated Israel's establishment. Predated the displacement they lament. The displacement of 1948 would not have happened if they'd have said, okay, we'll accept the UN's proposed partition plan. They said, no, we want to throw the Jews into the sea. So the displacement occurred when they launched a genocidal war against the Jews. And the Jews said, I think we'd like to live, actually. So you need to watch our documentary that we released on JTV+, which shows the Arab anti-Semitism that predated Israel's existence. If you understand that, you'll understand the real cause and effect in this conflict. Have a watch of the trailer, and you can watch the documentary by clicking on the link in the video description. Picture yourself, it's 1834, and you're a Jew living in Tzfat, which is a northern city in Israel, then under the Ottoman Empire. Your family is part of this ancient city's spiritual heart for generations. You study Torah, you trade in the market, and live quietly among your Arab neighbours. But one day, a mob storms your street, shouting, "Kill the Jews!" Your home is looted, your synagogue burned, your loved ones beaten. This isn't about Israel. Israel won't exist for 114 years. This isn't about settlements, the IDF, or the 1948 displacements. This is raw, violent hatred aimed at you for being a Jew. And it's not just in Palestine, it's part of a centuries-old story of anti-Semitism woven into Arab and Islamic history, from the dawn of Islam to the streets of Hebron. The claim that this conflict began with Israel's creation, the Nakba, or modern policies, is a farce, a distortion that collapses under history's magnifying glass. Welcome to JTV Plus. I'm Ollie Annersfeld, and today we're uncovering a history too often buried, the relentless anti-Semitism among Arabs in Palestine before 1948, rooted in a broader Arab and Muslim hostility that began with Islam's inception in the 7th century. To watch this JTV Plus documentary and access much more premium content, click on the link in the video description.